In this video, we bring you an update on the progress of the 280Z conversion project, and we'll let you see what's been done thus far. Stay with us. And here's the front of the car under the hood. Back a ways here. Here's in front of where the radiator and condenser were. So the grill, that space there. And then the engine bay. And so we've cleaned it up a little bit once we removed all the unneeded components, and we kind of cleaned it up since it had been painted with everything else. Might as well get a little shine out of it. So we'll detail it a little bit more as we go. But what's next is we may want to get rid of some of this wiring. We just have to see what is necessary and what isn't. And so we're going to start with the battery and take a look at what was connected to the battery and what needs to go back to the battery. So there's our positive lead hanging right there at the moment. And we have that lead that went to the starter, and then also this was connected to the starter. And of course the little one right there, that was the solenoid, but this other one had 12 volts going from it. So two 12-volt supplies basically. We got the lead coming off of there because the heavy red line only went to the starter motor. So we're going to change that a little bit. We'll have one line go to a terminal post, and those other two connections will come off there, and we'll come off there to go to our power relay. And we'll show you all that. And then of course the negative side, the ground side, it's hanging in there somewhere. It has one wire hanging off of it that we need to ground, and we'll do a ground terminal also. But this will just go, instead of being grounded to the engine like it was, we'll ground to the body now, find a new chassis ground. So that's where we're going to start. And then we'll see what 12-volt accessories work and don't work, because we did cut quite a bit of wire loom, but it was only for the fuel injection and things directly for the engine that we disconnected, hopefully. So we're going to connect up the battery, as I just mentioned, and we'll have a moment of truth and see that everything works that we need to work. And if not, we'll remedy those. But if so, we can go through and clean up some of the stuff that's potentially not needed. Well, as we try to avoid drilling any holes in the vehicle, we look for existing mounting points. Here's a stud on the firewall that we're going to use for mounting our positive terminal. So we're going to come from the battery to that positive terminal, which we're going to mount right there. Okay, so now we have the battery wired to our positive 12-volt connections that were on the car originally. They are at this terminal connection right here. So we've got the battery coming in, we've got kind of the dirty looking red wire. That's an original cable that came in to unswitch to 12 volts. And then we have one that we spliced right there because of short length. So those are two original 12-volt feeds that were directly off of the battery. And so those continue to work in that fashion. Then also off of that 12-volt terminal there, we're pulling off a lead that goes to this relay, what we call our power relay. So all that we're missing is a ignition source. We'll find something that comes on with the ignition, and it will activate that relay coil, and then it will send power from our terminal strip, or our terminal, to the fuse block right here. So our fuse block will be switched with the ignition. All of the 12-volt stuff off of our conversion will either run off this fuse block or off of that terminal, because there are some things like the instrumentation and so forth that have 12 volts all the time. So they'll come off this terminal right here. So now, like I said, we'll find a ignition switched source, preferably one that's already in the engine compartment here and we don't have to run any wire. We tested this already, turned on the ignition, and the headlights work, the annoying buzzer works. Stereo, seatbelt light, parking brake light, dome light, wipers, everything works except for the horn, and I don't think that worked originally. So, because he changed the steering wheel. So we'll have to contact the owner about that. This is the cover that goes in the back here. On the other side is the gas filler. And so this was, to kind of cover part of the filler neck, I guess, as it came in this side and then goes down to the tank underneath. And we'll show you that later. We've removed the tank. But what's been interesting is we removed this plastic cover. Okay? Plastic cover out of the way. And there was a metal cover. Okay? Remove the metal cover. It's an expansion tank. And so that's another one of those items that is no longer necessary. It's a little bit of weight and a little bit of volume. So we have room there. We can mount something else there. So here's a shot of the rear of the 280Z. The driver's side here. This is the passenger side where the gas fill is, or was. So it hasn't been vacuumed out and cleaned yet. This is just the way it looks once we removed all the cosmetics. But this is where the filler came through, right here. The neck came through here and went down through there. So we have some holes to make covers for and seal. But gives you an idea. There's a fair amount of room right there. Not sure how we're going to use it just yet, but that's an option. So here's all the stuff that came out of the vehicle that's not going back in. You can see there's a heat shield right there. The heater core, air conditioning compressor, starter motor, all sorts of components that aren't going back into the vehicle. The expansion tank, the exhaust, the back there. Here's a shot of the 280Z engine stashed in the corner, out of the way, waiting for a new home. So this is a shot of the engine bay ready for the conversion components. We cleaned up all the items that aren't going to be used anymore. Kind of got the loom cleaned up. There's the negative line just hanging right now from the off the firewall. We don't have it attached to the battery. But you can see it's only the components that remain on the car. Wiring that was original in the car that kind of sticks out or whatever. Original wiring on a vehicle isn't the most cosmetically pleasing, but that's the way it is. We cleaned it up a little bit, and now it's time for the motor to come along. We need to install the motor, which requires us to make motor mounts. We need an adapter, coupler, and we're waiting on the motor to come in. So we'll have that process in a later video. Here's a shot of the rear with the charge port installed. And of course, once the charger is located and mounted, we'll trim that to fit. Here's the outside. Open the flap, and there's the J1772 charge port. And there it is. That's just some of the progress. We also installed the heater, and we've been working on some of the things on the dash, looking at putting gauges in the original holes, so we're checking on fitment of that, waiting for gauges to get here. But yeah, while we wait for all the main components, we put in those items that we have in the shop and wait for the big dollar stuff to get here, and we can move forward. And we hope you will join us. So as always, I thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.